us here for Afghanistan today. Excited to be here. What a gorgeous place. Wouldn't it? All right. So you were in the Marines. How the hell did you end up at this business?
So I was a Marine infantry officer, and the whole Marine Corps revolves around a few things. Coffee being number one, like chewing tobacco is maybe like number two.
Yeah.
So anyway, like to stay awake in Afghanistan, you're just drinking instant coffee. You know, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I'm from DC. My family's from here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start a business. I loved coffee.
How long were you in the Marines for?
I was in for 4 years.
Yep.
Did one deployment to Afghanistan. You know, I was just thinking like, hey, if I survive this thing, I'm going to open up a coffee
Which is
shop.
a frightening reality that you're in, right? I mean, if I survived this thing, it's unbelievable the sacrifice that people in the military go through. It's like, hey, if I survive, I'd love to have a family or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's a very surreal feeling when you're the process of becoming a Marine infantry officer. You go through something called officer candidate school, and that's like a 10-week job interview. And the Marines just haze you. Yeah. They're trying to get you to quit because they only want the most committed people to make it through the training.
Sense.
And at the end of the day, at the end of those 10 weeks, if you make it through, you can decide whether you stay or whether you leave. And it's a really weird psychology to it.
Sure.
So they kick out about 50 to 65% of the people, and then another large percentage drop out. So you spend an entire year training before you ever meet your platoon.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's an entire year in Quantico, Virginia.
Yeah.
And then from there, you spend another, 6-7 months getting ready for deployment, actually going to Afghanistan, serving overseas. And then when you leave, when you're going there, you sort of embrace this idea that you're already dead.
Man,
it's weird.
It's crazy.
It's really crazy.
And why do you embrace that idea? Is that something everyone does, or is it something you do?
Yeah, most people sort of go into it thinking that every day after that day is a bonus.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Unbelievable. So that experience, I mean, looking at kind of what you've done here, by the way, you've retrofitted this whole thing, you've built it out, the commitment you mentioned, like what did you learn in the Marines that made you successful here?
The Marine Corps was a fantastic leadership academy. And every day there are lessons about building a team, developing their capabilities, helping them grow to push beyond the limitations that people think that they have. And the Marine Corps was fantastic at that. So when I started Compass in 2014, it was all of this. This was the vision. It was just in a much smaller area.
Right.
So our original roastery was about 3,500 square feet. And it was,
and how big is this one?
This is 50,000 square feet.
Okay. A little bigger.
So, more than 10x the size.
Sure.
Huge machines. Everything was much smaller back then. We had a very small roaster. It was only a very small team. I mean, we had like 10 people. Everybody was involved in everything.
Yeah.
So,
kind of like there's still a little bit.
There's been some specialization.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like that. But a normal day back in 2014 was, I'd be behind the roaster, figuring out the blends, making coffee. The baristas would be behind the counter. I was one of the, supervisors. I would be working behind the counter, talking to customers. And that really gave great insights into what people really wanted. Talking about cafes, it's really, coffee is about community and people coming together.
Yeah.
And that's always been a really important thing for me. Just being from DC, after leaving the military, wanting to create that kind of space. I mean, Compass is pretty unique in that we have these larger cafes with, beautiful furniture, and the whole thing is about bringing people together. So essentially what happens is we take these pallets of beans, and this is where the process actually begins. Have you driven a forklift before?
Through the fifth.
Do you want to try?
Sure.
This is a Marine K-bar. So this is the type of knife that Marines carry in combat. So I took one of these with me through Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the bags. The coffee's gonna flow down here through the grates, and then it goes up and through the dust collector, through the bean cleaner, and then up and into the silos.
Awesome.
Do it.
There we go. Nice.
And you just keep going. You just do. Yeah.
And so, how do you get all the coffee out? Is there like a mechanism that
We take compressed air.
compress air and blow it?
Exactly.
And this is the coffee that we just unloaded with the machete-ish. And here it is going through its process. Sure. Pretty cool. What's this little testing room? Taste testing?
Yeah, what happens in here, guys?
All kinds of stuff. We do blending, tasting, any kind of quality control happens in here. There's also a little sample roaster in the corner there where it goes about 100 grams of beans at a time.
Nice.
If our importer is sending us stuff.
How did you all get here? Do you have a passion for coffee, or how did you?
Coffee journey is a great question.
Yes.
I started out actually with Compass as my first coffee job. I was a barista. COVID hit. I became Compass's welder. I made that wall right back there.
Oh, wow.
So I welded that. Don't worry, it's safe.
Speaking of COVID and the pandemic, your industry was obviously affected. Can you tell us a little bit about how you pivoted during that time, how you made it through surviving?
Yeah, I mean, the cafes just dropped from, having thousands of customers every day to zero almost. We had to close all the downtown ones temporarily and just leave them closed until, people started coming back, which was years. So it was really painful. It was a really tough time.
So COVID hits, just to stay alive. What was the pivot? What did that look like? What was the revenue? What new products did you create?
We were willing to try anything during COVID to stay in business. One of the first things we did was we made hand sanitizer, and we were supplying Chase Bank, on nationwide. We supplied the White House, Children's Hospital.
Wow.
And that was a project that kept us going for 2 or 3 months. And then the large companies, they caught up.
Yep.
We were nimble for a minute, but
sure,
the economies of scale from a company like Purell is completely different. So we did hand sanitizer. We tried single serve coffee. We pivoted into e-commerce, so selling coffee online.
Mm-hmm.
And then we significantly grew our grocery distribution. So selling to Giant, selling to Whole Foods, selling to grocery stores in the DMV. So it was very difficult to have to lay off people that I'd worked with for many years.
Sure.
And that's a really difficult decision. Almost overnight, our business went down about 85%.
Yeah.
And we had to close all of our downtown DC locations. We tried to bring people here to do construction, to work on other projects. But, it was a very stressful time. People didn't know how deadly COVID was going to be, how long it was going to go on for, when would there become, a vaccine, when could life sort of return to normal and we could have coffee together,
sure,
in a coffee shop. So,
and tell us about that pivot too. So did you guys start delivering more, what did the revenue sources look like just to stay alive?
Tried everything to stay in business. It did keep us going.
Yeah.
And, fortunately we're here on the other side and we can be hanging out and drinking coffee.
Hey man, it's, by the way, best coffee ever. Have it in my house, have it in our office as of a month from now, because we don't have it currently.
Yeah.
Oh, we're about to.
All right, so we're roasting French roast today. Just loaded the coffee into the hopper up top, and we're roasting 150 pounds. That's one of those big burlap sacks of coffee.
Like right over there.
Yeah, one of those burlap bags.
Nice.
And now we've got the first batch loaded up here. It's going to drop down into this drum, which is preheating. All right, so
Man, oh, good.
all right, throw samples down on the counter. We'll take these maybe every 3 or 4 minutes. All right. Yeah. Come on, get it.
Is it wrong if I do this?
Well, it's going to come out the same way.
Very cool.
So this is actually the beginning of the process. Is coffee's coming out of the silos moving up, across, over, down.
Like how you left it transparent so you could actually see it come through. So
We wanted customers to be able to come into our cafe, get a cup of coffee, and to be able to see all of the coffee roast.
I love it.
And
Works.
hey, the coffee has 10 to 12% moisture, and the first step in roasting is actually evaporating all of that water.
Mom, I want to point out that I was able to figure out there was lack of moisture there, and high school and college was not a waste of time. Thank you.
At all. Yeah. So you're gonna see these colors changing really quickly, like green to brown. You got this little thing, it's called a trier.
Yep.
So you want to go in with the bowl facing up.
Yep.
You get a sample.
Yep.
And
there we go.
and give it a little smell. So then, over here, we came up with a roasting algorithm.
Oh, of course you did.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So each one of our coffees can either be a blend or a single org.
What software was used for this? Like, how did this come about?
So first is the coffees.
Yeah.
Like, which beans are you using?
Yeah.
And then secondly, the flavors are developed in the roaster. So we're gonna watch this whole thing go. And you can see now we're getting there. There we go.
Yep.
So that's coffee.
Yeah.
You can drink this. It's a light roast. Door opens up and the beans come down here to cool. So there's gonna be a big plume of smoke. With a few.
What was that?
I did that for you guys. The next step in the process here is we want to make sure that we roasted the coffee to the right degree of roast. We're going to put them into this dish. We're going to take it over to a machine that measures the degree of sugar development in the coffee. So it actually tells us, did we roast the coffee properly? All right. So this is a very dark roast. This is as dark as you can go. All right, so now we got our sample of beans. All right, so you got a little bit of that differential.
Yeah.
So that meets our quality control spec, so that means we can send that over for packaging. Now the coffee is gonna open up and you're gonna start to see the beans flow down from here. Like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that's coffee. That's the French roast that we just made.
Roasted. There you go. Recently, I think you just announced a whole partnership with the Washington Post, and they come in cans that are more like that. What size are those cans?
So that's a 12-ounce tin.
Okay.
And that's more of like a product that you would see in Whole Foods or Giant or one of our cafes.
Very cool. And then the name of the Washington Post partnership, or the name of the coffee?
We're calling it Post Roast.
Okay.
And it's a special blend. It's a dark roast. And it's really a partnership to promote the 7 podcast, which is a daily podcast with the Washington Post. And it's just 7 quick news articles in 7 minutes. You get the highlights, and that's all you need to start your day.
I'm a reader.
Oh, you
Yeah.
listen to the 7. All right, guys. All right, so look up there. We're going to follow the beans moving over into the silos. And you get the really beautiful smoke that I just created.
Yeah, I love it.
With a tongue. Right here, you can get up close and personal. You might hit your head on this. You're maybe the tallest person who's been in here.
Not easy being a giant.
And then they're going into silo number 3 over here. You can see them flowing down in.
And that silo is how large? How much will it hold? How many pounds?
That holds about 4,000 pounds of coffee.
Not much. Well, what were the kind of the takeaways that you can remember from customers? Like, hey, I like this because of X, Y, Z, or this is what we want.
One of the great things about being behind the counter and talking to customers is how quickly you can get feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have to think about, okay, it's going to take 6 weeks to send the product out to a grocery store, and then we're going to do a survey. No, it was you roast the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, you're brewing it for customers.
Sure.
And they are quickly telling you, I like this blend. I don't like this blend. It needs to be chocolatier. It needs to be darker.
Sure.
So you're able to really quickly iterate. And that was a key thing early on, in determining the blends that people love today is just talking to customers, learning about what they like, that sort of thing.
Yeah. What do you see for the vision for the company, or where do you guys go from here?
You can keep making real good coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, it's relatively simple, but very hard. And what I mean by that is everything that we do is hard work. I mean, sourcing excellent quality green coffee is really hard. Developing blends is really hard.
Cutting bags, sweat marks.
Hard. That's hard work.
Yeah.
And I mean, packaging, delivering the coffee to the cafes, training baristas is really hard. All of those steps individually are very hard, but none of them are very complicated. You know, I can train you how to cut bags. So you're an expert bag cutter after today. You know, we could have a second role for you. You know, if you're looking for a side hustle.
Love it.
So nothing is particularly complicated. It's just very hard. And, you know, every single one of those details matters.
Yeah.
That if you don't have the perfect blend, if you don't package the coffee fresh, if you don't train the baristas how to pull the perfect shot of espresso, each one of those steps can really impact the customer experience.
Nice. So in terms of types of products you now have, which some of it was born from COVID, but like, you know, for us, we're going to get the nitro cold brew coffee kegs. Obviously you don't do the K cups because it didn't fit your quality of service or quality of product that you wanted. Give us like a variety of all the different types of things that we can purchase here, types of products you guys offer.
So if you come into one of our cafes, my personal favorite thing is the nitro cold brew and a shot of espresso, you know, on the side, you know, so sort of like a beer and a shot of whiskey.
Sure.
Yeah. That's sort of an espresso and a cold brew is kind of like the same thing.
How much? So, you know, I'm drinking 2 nitros in the morning right now.
Yeah.
And I'm productive. I'm super productive. I go into lunch. I'm a little slow in the afternoons. When's like the last time I can have a cup of coffee in the day and still have possibly reasonable sleep that night?
So the half-life on caffeine is 4 to 6 hours, depending on your metabolism and, you know, certain genetic factors. So your body will process half of the caffeine out of your system in 4 to 6 hours.
Okay.
So if you cut yourself off in the early afternoon, you're typically fine to go to sleep, you know, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night.
It's good to know.
So I switched to decaf in the afternoons or I drink tea.
Yeah.
We have some really nice herbal teas that are decaffeinated that, you know, you can have them iced, you can have them hot, depends on the season. We're actually going to put some coffee in a bag.
All right, done.
We actually make bags, and then we fill the bags with coffee.
Of course.
So this is a roll of film. So this roll of film holds thousands of bags. And what's going on here is the machine is unrolling the film. As you can see, the 2 sides of the film, they're getting pulled together. It's sealing into a tube. So this is now a sealed tube, and the coffee is dropping down through this center tube. Filling with beans.
And how many bags will you make a day? Okay. 1,494 bags a day. No bigs, guys.
So that's the record.
This facility is unbelievable. If I understand correctly, you actually do, you know, parties here, corporate events. You know, what are those? Are those usually done at nighttime, daytime, all over the place?
I mean, we can do all sorts of different things. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. We've done weddings. We've done, we did Pride here in 2022. That was a crazy party. So we had like 2,500 people here.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So we were outside, down this down over there, out on the mezzanine. We were out front. We were all over. It was a crazy party. So we've done everything from, you know, the mayor's been here, the Small Business Administration, VA. We've done podcasts. We've done birthday parties, all sorts of different events, and it's fun to have people in the space, experiencing the coffee, learning, seeing the process. I didn't know, you know, how you made coffee.
I mean, I knew nothing.
Right.
And even seeing the little different levels of beans over there and the processes you go through and the light roast. I mean, it's so interesting. On that note, do you guys do tours? Do you do tours for the public if they want to book one?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we love having customers come by and learn about roasting coffee.
a day. I mean, what a day. Now, did I sweat? Sure. I mean, first of all, I've known you for a little bit.
Yeah.
I call you MacGyver because you figure out how to solve everything. But I also hung out with you over a whole weekend. You go on numerous runs, you know, I mean, like you never stopped working out. So did I know I was going to get an athletic workout? No. Did I? Sure.
Yeah.
And now I'm a better person for it. So anyway, thanks for having us today. It was an amazing time. If you guys have never been to Compass Coffee, which is very unlikely since they have 20 locations in the area, you have to go to it. The quality is unmatched. The quality control was so cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that you guys retrofitted all of this is unbelievable. I really appreciate you guys having us. If you want to tell the crowd here a little bit about you guys and where to find you or what you guys have going on, what do you got?
Yeah, so you can find us at Compass Coffee DC. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And I mean, thank you so much for coming by.
That was awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.